Hello, everyone. This is Karen, and I know some of you were on my webinar before, and unfortunately, I had some sound issues. I do apologize. I was trying to help somebody out and get them the phone number since they didn't have any speakers on their computer, and unfortunately, hit a wrong button, as it happens in technology, and turned off the sound. But I'm redoing the webinar so that you won't miss anything. And again, my sincerest apologies. So a little disclaimer before we start. If you're happy with ACT, you love it, by all means, stay with ACT. Some of you have been using ACT 25, 30 years, and you don't like change. So change is never easy. And Zoho is not going to look exactly like ACT. So if you have to have everything exactly like ACT is, then don't even bother to watch this webinar. But if you're looking for more, you're looking for something different, then keep listening. So why should I move from ACT to Zoho? Well, to me, the answer is pretty easy. I provide technical support, and I can tell you that the technical support that I have to provide for Zoho is almost non-existent. The tech support I provided for ACT was ongoing. I answered emails from frantic users every morning, every night, all weekend long. So some of the things that people ran into: slow performance. ACT is a SQL database. It requires maintenance. Some of you never did maintenance and your database got really slow. Exporting and reporting. You wanted to export your notes and you couldn't do it. You wanted to create a report that showed maybe you showed a company with the contacts that were in that company and the opportunities and the notes for the opportunities in one report. Couldn't do it. Windows 11, you hit that little button. Oh, I'd like to upgrade to Windows 11. Boom. You no longer had access to ACT because versions older than ACT 24 do not play well in the playground with Windows 11. Licensing and activation errors. If you had a version older than ACT 17, your license number changed. So if you get a new machine and you use that old license number, it ain't gonna work. Activation errors. You can install ACT twice. So if you installed ACT on a computer and you just had a dumb luck that you first bought a new computer, and then on that new computer your hard drive went bad, so now you're trying to install ACT for a third time, not going to do it. It's not going to let you install it. You can call tech support, ACT tech support. Hopefully they will be able to release that activation, but usually that happens over a weekend, and tech support's not going to be there to help you. Phone apps. If you had anything other than the web version, you didn't have a phone app unless you paid for it. I don't know about you, but I use my iPad. I use my mobile phone. I need those. I need to see my data on those. Database corruption. I have Kim working on my staff. She is the best, which is great because over the years, we have fixed literally hundreds of corrupted ACT databases. Again, the maintenance wasn't getting done. And all of a sudden, people would come in, fat, dumb, and happy on a Monday morning, go to log into ACT, and ACT wouldn't pull up. I've had people literally call me in tears. Upgrade compatibility issues. It seems like we would get a new version of ACT and it would fix one thing and break 3 others. Maybe you had third-party products that stopped working. Maybe you have 20 machines on your location and you had to go all across all 20 of those machines and install ACT. Maybe you had to uninstall SQL and reinstall SQL. And it could take hours for some of you that are from larger companies. Passwords. Every ACT database has a admin username and password. Some of you don't know them. And so you get a new computer, you go to restore your backup on that new computer. It asks you for your username and password. You don't know what it is. The only way you can find your username and password is to dig into the SQL tables. And that ain't an easy thing to do. With something like Zoho, you have a password reset. I'm sure you're used to seeing this in your bank or Facebook or YouTube or Netflix, wherever you go and you forget your password. My husband and I forget our, excuse me, our passwords to our Netflix account constantly, but we can reset it. You just go in there, you hit a link, you reset it. That's the way Zoho works. Outlook and email integration. Again, the rule of thumb was you were supposed to install Outlook first and then install Act. But that if you upgraded Outlook, Act stopped working. Maybe if you upgraded Act, Outlook stopped working. It was a constant problem, constant issue. Synchronization failures. Some of you had remote people that you wanted to share your data with, and you set up a synchronization. Maybe you moved to the Act Web product and you don't like the way it works, and you wanted to have that synchronized to a desktop version. My experience is remote users constantly run into issues. We also have something about spillover tables, and I don't want to get too technical, but you have a number of tables in Act, and one of them is your contact table. And if you start adding a lot of custom fields and you add, they hold too much, they only hold so much data. And when it gets to that limit, it creates a second table called a spillover table. If you fill that one up, you get another table. So some of my clients have had 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 spillover tables because they've added a lot of fields over the years. And when you start searching for things, when you start looking for things, it slows down your database because your database can be very fragmented. Maybe you have an address where 2 of the fields are in one table and a couple of the other fields are in a different table. And now you're wondering, why does it take so long to pull up all this information? And think of Act like a big blob of Jello. If you take a spoonful out of that Jello bowl, you get a hole. And that's the way your data is. There's no easy way to defrag your data. If you delete fields in Act, it doesn't defrag your database. It simply leaves more holes, which makes your database even more subject to problems. So the only way that we could fix those database problems was to totally rebuild the database. So I started looking around for an Act replacement for myself and for my customers about 9 years ago. And quite frankly, what I did is I wanted all the Salesforce functionality because Salesforce was probably the biggest name on the market. I wanted Salesforce functionality on an Act budget. Those of you who have ever priced out Salesforce, you know it's almost 10 times the price of Act. So I looked at a lot of products. I looked at the top ones that I see listed, on PC Magazine and some of the reviews, and I kept seeing the same names over and over again. And I looked at NetSuite, and I looked at Monday, and I looked at Microsoft Dynamics, and I looked at things like Less Annoying CRM because I liked the name, and Fresh Sales because some of my clients had moved there. I'm certified in HubSpot and in Salesforce, and I wrote a book on Sugar CRM. There are over 2,000 CRM products on the market. No, I did not look at all of them. I looked at probably the top 20. So my search for a replacement for Act, my top criteria when looking for an Act replacement, I wanted the same functionality as Act, even more. The pricing had to be less than or equal to Act's pricing. And I wanted a really strong company. Act, I feel, has had many, many owners over the years. And I was looking for stability, not a fly-by-night company. I wanted something that was really stable. So I looked at that company's strength. I looked at sales. Zoho is privately owned, and it means they don't have to answer to investors. And they have over $1 billion in sales. Zoho currently has 17,000 employees worldwide. Act has less than 50. Research and development. Zoho spends about 80% of their revenue on research and development to be able to find ways to work with AI and add new features and keep up with the times. Salesforce spends about 80% of their revenue on sales and marketing. If you've been in San Francisco, Chicago, New York, London, you're going to see really big Salesforce towers. Those towers were not free. Wasn't like Stonehenge. They didn't just get dropped into place. Someone paid for those large towers, and that someone would be the Salesforce customers. So if you want your money to go for research and development, Zoho's a good choice. If you want your money to go to a big building in London that you might or might not ever see, Salesforce might be a good choice. Consultants. ACT currently has 7 consultants. At one time, they had over 700. Zoho has over 2,000 consultants. And a little fun fact, I don't know if you've ever heard of Accenture or Deloitte or McKinsey. These are very high-end consulting firms. And with high-end consulting firms come high-end prices. So a lot of the Salesforce consultants are actually working for McKinsey or Accenture or Deloitte. So if you'd like to spend a lot of money, not only in your Salesforce software, but on getting it customized, getting your data brought over, work with one of these people. And yeah, it's kind of like a gas tank that just has no end. It just keeps rolling. So I'm going to start with the baby product, and that's Biggin. Prices range from free to 21 bucks a month. All the prices can also be paid on a yearly basis. So that $21 product goes for more like $200 for the year. If you want to pay it, they give you basically 2 months free if you pay by the year. And this is what Biggin looks like. What you see is what you get. Very simple interface. You have a pipeline. You have a opening home screen. You have your activities. You can have products that you put in there that are tied to your pipeline. You can have contacts. You have companies. That's it. When you look at a contact record, basically you have your fields over here on the left side, and then on the right side, you put your notes, your activities, your emails, and it's a very simple interface. Now, CRM is a little bit fancier. You notice over the top, we have leads because maybe you want to keep track of leads as opposed to contacts. Some of you currently have 2-act databases and you'd like to kind of do the same thing, keep them separate. Well, that might be your leads and your contacts. A little bit more, we can focus and get a little bit more depth in everything. Here's what the record looks like in CRM. You have the basic contact information on the side. You get to pick the 5 top fields you want to see, up at the top. You can choose whatever fields you want. You could rearrange the fields. You could reorder the fields. You could put them into little boxes. You can have all your address fields together. You can have all your contact fields together. And again, Zoho is going to cost you anywhere from free to 45 bucks a month, depending on what features you need. So, excuse me, what I usually do is start by finding out what it is you need. And these are the main things that people ask me for. Emails per day. Some of you you want to send blasts, email blasts. Some of you don't. So if you do want blast, well, if you want, say, 1,000 a day, you're looking at a bigger version of Biggin, or you're looking at a bigger version of CRM. And just to compare this, with these prices, 1,000 a day, that would be what, 30,000 a month. ACT comes with 2,500 a month. So you can see, price per price, if you are looking at e-marketing, a lot cheaper in Zoho. Custom tables, you might be a recruiter and you want to keep all the resumes of your different candidates on record, or maybe you're placing jobs and you want to have a separate table for all those jobs that you've placed in the past or trying to place now. Maybe you're a financial advisor and you want to have a record of all the different investment houses your various customers work with. Maybe you're a property manager and you want to see all your properties and you want to see who lives in those different properties. So that's what we call a custom table. Some of you don't need it. Biggin doesn't have it. In Zoho CRM, it's free with all paid plans. So you can pay $176 a year for the lowest rung of CRM and you have custom tables. In ACT, it's another $120 per user per year. Custom fields. Some of you don't need them. Some of you have a lot of them. If you only have a handful, you might be able to use Biggin. If you have hundreds of custom fields, you're going to need to use a CRM product. Mobile phone apps. They are included free of charge with Biggin and with Zoho CRM. And by the way, mobile phone apps don't exist in ACT unless you have the current web version, and most people are not really happy with that product. VoIP phone integration. Some of you have transitioned to Zoom for your phone, or Ring Central, or 8x8, or Nextiva, or any one of thousands of VoIP phone systems. Most of those have free integrations. I think there's over 500 companies with free integrations to the Zoho products. So if you want to be able to click someone's phone number and have it ring because you don't want to dial, or you want them to call and be able to record that, get a screen pop and be able to record the duration of the call back to the contact record, that's included with all versions of Biggin and Zoho. Not so much in ACT. Quoting and invoicing. We could do this even with the Biggin products. There is an extra charge. Zoho CRM is included in the $276 a year product. And in ACT, they're just now starting to add it. There's an extra charge. So when we start adding, let's see, I'd like to have that quoting. Maybe I'd like to have that custom tables. Now all of a sudden, your $360 a year is $720 a year, or maybe even $940 a year if you need all the bells and whistles. And that also brings us to the next area. We have a showstopper. And that showstopper is something called Zoho One. You noticed that I talked, and I'm going to go back in my slides here just for a minute. I talked about a product, the highest ring, the highest tier, of Zoho is $444 a year for Zoho One. That's as much as you can pay. That is the Cadillac, that's a Rolls Royce of the products. So what do you get for that $444 product, which is called Zoho One? Well, you get a bunch of free apps. Over 50 free apps, as a matter of fact, for $444 a year, or $45 a month. Now, I don't use all those free apps, but if there's at least 2 or 3 of them that you're interested in, it is well worth the money. It includes, by the way, the enterprise version of every one of these products. So you could pay just for Zoho CRM Enterprise Edition $50 a month, or you could get Zoho One that includes Enterprise Edition for $45 a month. It's a great value. It includes campaigns if you want something like MailChimp. It includes Zoho Social if you want to have a social media calendar set up to start posting to your Facebook and your LinkedIn. We have surveys if you want to send surveys out, forms, you want to have web forms and have that information flow automatically into Zoho. We have Zoho Sales IQ, which is like a little chatbot. I get a lot of leads there. People come to my website, they ask me a question, they give me their email address. I now have a new lead automatically entered into my database. If you're doing support, it includes something called Zoho Desk. If you don't like Outlook, you don't want to pay for Outlook, you can use Zoho Mail. Zoho Click is like a little Slack clone. I'm on there with a number of people in my cohort that I can communicate with, on an instant messenger basis. I'm running this webinar on Zoho Meetings. Comes part of the Zoho One package. Work Drive, you get a terabyte worth of storage space. Some people, maybe you're a startup, you don't want to pay for Microsoft Office, or maybe you just don't like Microsoft. They have, and I personally don't use these, so I'm not going to tell you that I use all of these products, but they have substitutions for Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. If you don't want to pay for Microsoft Office, included free of charge as part of this program. They have a vault to keep track of your passwords. We have Zoho Books, which is a full-fledged accounting software. We have invoice and quoting if you don't want to go with the full-fledged accounting software. We have Zoho Inventory if you keep inventory. Sorry, so many features, couldn't fit them all on one page. We also have Zoho Recruit if you want a full-fledged recruiting system. That's included with Zoho One. We have analytics, True Story. I create ACT reports for some of my clients using Zoho Analytics that I can't create in ACT. We have Zoho Creator. You need to create your own little product within Zoho. You could do it. Self-support. And again, one of the things that people are upset about is ACT support used to include remote access. That was taken away a couple of years ago. Yes, you could pay another $100 a year, and that's why that price of ACT just keeps going up and up. It gets to the point where it's as expensive as Salesforce, actually. But unless you pay for that, your support is going to be for 2 years unless you have a subscription. And that's only going to be phone support, chat support, email support. They have a kind of a okay video library, and they have some KB articles. With Zoho, all versions, including the trial, includes remote access assistance should you need it, phone, chat, email, a huge video library, KB articles. They have get started guides. They have a huge user community in LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, ChatGPT, and Google. I will go into ChatGPT and ask it a question, and it gives me an answer about the ACT test, which is not what I was looking for. So I have to be very specific. Tell me about ACT CRM and how to do blah, blah, blah. Chances are it's not going to be there because there's not a lot in ChatGPT about ACT. Tons of stuff. If you Google, go to ChatGPT on Zoho. They have the annual Zoholics event in Texas. Some of my clients go there. I think it's 3 days, as I remember. It's usually Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then they have local events. If you live in the middle of Montana, they probably will not have a local event. But if you're near any large metropolitan area, I know in Florida, they have them in Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and even Boca Raton. So they have those local events that you could attend. I think they charge you $25 for those events, but you go there, they always teach something, and then you can talk to the people from Zoho. So if you have specific questions, you can talk to them, the actual employees right there, which is kind of cool. In my area, they've got them in Philly, they've got them in New York, they've got them in Denver. Shameless plug. I've been running my Wednesday webinars a couple of times a month. You are always going to learn something here. I haven't been running them on Biggin. Honestly, I don't have that many Biggin clients, and it's kind of a low-end product. Most of my clients want to be in CRM. It's also kind of cool for me because instead of teaching people how to fix their database, I'm teaching people how to use new features in Zoho, and most of my clients do have that Zoho One product. Okay, Karen, I've used ACT for over 20 years, 30 years, 25 years, 35 years. I don't like change. Yeah, I hear you. Change is tough. But there's a few things that I can do. First off, here's all your customization options in ACT. Not too many. And some of them are things like database maintenance, which really isn't customization, or synchronize your database. So there's not a whole lot of customization. It's basically this little area down here, customization preferences. These are your customization options in Zoho. Tons more. I mean, you can see for automations, we have 7 different ways that we can create automations. Maybe you want every time a deal closes, you want to send a thank you letter, and then you want to ask them for a referral. Then you want them to post a review for you. You can automate the whole process. But sometimes what I do for my people that don't like change, my ACT users, is I take features away. You don't use the leads module? Gone. You don't want to see other things? Gone. So maybe we started off with leads, accounts, contacts, and deals. I could change any part of Zoho that you want. I might change it to prospects, hospitals, customers, and ops. Maybe you don't have deals. Maybe you don't have campaigns. We can go up here, click a button, and get rid of those. We can make it as simple as you want. Now, some people love their layouts. Here's an example of a layout. They love their layout. I hated their layout. It doesn't line up. My little Capricorn brain needs things to be very lined up. I don't like that some fields are taller than others. I don't like that some fields are scrunched on top of each other. I don't like that the left edges are all ziggity zaggedy and the right edges are all ziggity zaggedy. So if you want me to create a, how do I say this, an uneven layout, can't do it. I got to get it to layout. That's just the way it works. But what I did in their case is I took everything they had, same order, and we just put it into more easily rearranged boxes where everything lined up, and they were a little bit happier with that. Do notice that things are not still lined up there. Don't like that, but that could certainly be fixed. So I also give all my ad clients, and again, this is not possible with Biggin. With Biggin, what you see is what you get. But with my CRM clients, I drop in a template that looks just like the ACT demo database. This is totally customizable. You can add all your fields to it. If you change the color from gray if you want. If that's what you want, you can have that. Here's a layout I did for one of my clients. Not a fan. Don't like floppy disks because they haven't been around probably for 20 years. Don't like a lot of the white space, but they wanted this. It was bright, it was perky. They wanted to have all their actions along the middle like they were used to having. So we did that. Now these I like a little bit better. This person wanted to have all their fields here. Then they wanted the rest of their fields down here, but they wanted everything kind of at one page. They wanted to be able to see all their opportunities here. They wanted to see all their meetings and calls here. They wanted to see their support options down here. This person did something very similar in green. They have all their fields up here. They have their additional information in the middle, a few more fields down here. And then this is a home tab. Again, I love that home dashboard. It's totally customizable. So I've had people that make these little, I call them church thermometers, so they can see, what their goals are, how close their company is to reaching the goals for the year. They can see that each and every day. They can go down, they can measure the growth of the salespeople, how they're doing. That you can put pie charts in there, you could put reports in there. You can really customize your home tab in a number of ways. You can use the out-of-the-box format. Again, there's 5 fields that we put up at the top. These are our 5 main fields. And you can just use this out of the box. And by the way, layouts can be assigned to specific users. I have one company, they've got about, I think they're up to 40 users now. The CEO has used ACT for years. He has an ACT-looking layout in Zoho. The other 39 people are using more of a Zoho design layout. So you can assign those layouts to different people. It's not everybody has to use the same layout. So talked about what I don't like about ACT, and basically it was support issues. Here's the things I do like about Zoho. I like that you don't have to worry about upgrades. You don't have to have servers. You don't have to install things. I don't get tech support issues from my Zoho clients. I love that customizable homepage I showed you. I can change virtually any part of Zoho. I love that Zoho uses AI. I put in a new customer, and if they gave me an email other than, say, Yahoo or Gmail, but an email with their domain, I could say, hey, update that information, scours the internet and finds, their name, or I'm sorry, their address, their phone number, fills it in for me. I have automations that work in the background. Close a deal, send a thank you note, done. We can integrate with thousands of products, literally hundreds of VoIP products. People want to integrate with Zoom, and they want to integrate with Dropbox, WhatsApp. We can integrate with anything because it's such a big company. People build these integrations to work with Zoho. REST API. Maybe you have a custom integration that you use. Sometimes people mention a product they're using. I have never heard of it. There is not an integration. It's a small little product, but they use something called API. So we can custom develop integrations between products you're using in Zoho. I love the ability to create quotes and invoicing. I think if you have salespeople, their ability to go into CRM and create a quote is unbelievably good. For me, I use Zoho Books so I can actually see if the invoices are paid or if they're not paid. If you want to keep using QuickBooks, you can use it in a hybrid. You could just send out an invoice, you can accept payment, and then you can go back and re-enter the income into your QuickBooks. I can see my data from anywhere. I can see it on my iPad, my computer, my phone. And if you use the apps, it actually caches your data. So if you're up in the airplane, you open your phone, you go to that Zoho CRM app, you can still see your data. So your next steps. Step one, contact me so we can discuss your needs and see what's going to be a good fit for you. Small, medium, or large. Begin or Zoho CRM or Zoho One. Get a test drive. Let's, kind of go through the program together. Let's start a trial. Begin starts with a 15-day trial. CRM gives you a 30-day trial, I believe. I can add 2 months free to the end of any product that you purchase. And then let's schedule a time to convert your data. The conversion is very easy. I get a backup. I analyze your data and I get a quote. I give you a quote. We convert your data. And then if you want to learn it on your own, that's fine. If you want to schedule training, that's fine. If you want to look up training, there's a lot of sources available, like I said. I do need a backup because what we do is we take that backup. You can't just say, hey, Karen, I got 200 contacts. You might have 500 custom fields. You might have a lot of notes. You might have a lot of histories. We look at the data and then you decide what you need. Again, if you have hundreds of contact deleted histories that go back to 1995, you probably do not need those. Maybe you have thousands of field change histories that, again, you don't need. If you don't need it, we don't bring it over and you don't pay for it. If you want it, it's yours. Then we import that data. We usually do it over a weekend. And then we can schedule training and onboarding support. So if you're ready to move on to ACT, contact me. Let me know. Remember, you're going to get the 3 months free. And I look forward to working with you with Zoho. It really is a great product. And I know you're going to be very happy with it. So give me a call. Thanks, everyone. And I'm so sorry that the webinar did not work the first time. Thanks. Bye-bye.